I really enjoy helping law firm owners not be so stressed because I don't know about you, but are you stressed? Most law firm owners are stressed. They're like, why did I do this to myself?
I love it. I mean, it's stressful, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'm just that
Yeah.
type of person who whatever stresses there are from running your own firm is better to me than being someone else's employee. Hey there, everyone. I'm Tom Bosworth, and this is the City of Brotherly Law. Welcome to Philly's Legal Pulse, where we chat with some of the city's and the country's best attorneys about what's really going on in our courts and our communities. Let's dive in and see what's brewing in the City of Brotherly Law. Margarita Eberline, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. So this is my first podcast ever. So you're like a pro. So you're gonna have to bear with me.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Can you just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into this field with all us lawyers?
Sure. So I basically like to suffer. No, I'm just kidding. So I was have been in marketing for over 25 years. I started off at NBC in Los Angeles, which is where I'm from, Southern California. I did my undergrad at Cal, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to be an entertainment lawyer? And I started studying for the LSAT, and then life happened, and I wound up working for Nielsen to make a long story short. And I fell in love with using data to make decisions because, much like a lot of my attorney clients, I'm a cautious person. I like to take calculated risks. So I gravitated toward what data has to offer. And so now, as a law firm CMO, I provide that leadership piece for law firms, not as an agency, because when you're in an agency space, in order to grow your business, which by the way, I've been in that space, you have to focus on selling services. As the leader, as a fractional CMO, I don't have that problem. I focus on what is the data telling me and what is best for my client, aka the attorneys that I'm working with, based on the data as far as tactics, as far as what is the competitive landscape telling me, the data about them, and what is the best play. I treat marketing for law firms like sports. Everybody has a play, everybody has an unfair advantage. And I come in as a neutral advisor for my clients, and I really like it. I work with law firms that haven't even started yet. So people come to me when they're at a law firm, maybe they're a partner, maybe they're a lawyer, and they dream about having their own business. They'll come to me and I'll help them start it the smart way. And then I also have larger firms, more established firms that have been around over 30 years and their name is synonymous with the market, and they manage multiple millions of marketing budgets. And so they come to me as well. So I really enjoy helping law firm owners not be so stressed because I don't know about you, but are you stressed? Most law firm owners are stressed. They're like, why did I do this to myself?
I love it. I mean, it's stressful, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'm just that
Yeah.
type of person who whatever stresses there are from running your own firm is better to me than being someone else's employee. That's just
That's true. I can relate to that. Yeah. 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 And as a CMO, I try to help my law firm owner clients alchemize that stress and see the opportunity. Like I was talking to a client of mine a couple hours ago, and we were having a discussion about some decisions that he's wanting to make in his law firm as far as resources and who to work with and things like that. And, he was really stressed out about it. And I was like, this can be like a slingshot moment where
right.
maybe all this stress is teaching us something. Maybe we need to do the unfamiliar to get the results that we're looking for that next. And we were able to have that conversation as well. So I'm really hokey like that.
One of the things I was just thinking about when you told me about your story is like, so starting out in LA in a non-legal, sounds like media, right?
Yes. Yes.
What was and I'm just curious, what was your like gut reaction, or was there anything you noticed off the bat when you jumped from that field into the realm of the legal field, having been in a
Yeah.
real media background, and then you start meeting all us
So how,
lawyers?
so how did I end up in it? So I think it was destiny because I was already thinking I wanted to go to law school and I already loved that profession, but I forgot to connect the dots. So a really important part of my story that I skipped. I after Nielsen, I decided to have a family and I was no longer in a position where it made sense to travel. So I left my position at Nielsen and explored other opportunities. The opportunity that was life changing and that led me down the path of working with attorneys was I was an actual AE at Telemundo Atlanta because I'm fully bilingual and I know data. And they're like, where have you been all of our lives, right? And so they scooped me up at Telemundo and I was selling advertising right around when the Obama administration really changed some legislation to allow for or encourage people to apply for citizenship and opened up all these other opportunities. And my boss at the time said, go after attorneys. This is a great time for immigration attorneys to advertise on television in Spanish language, television specifically. And I was like, okay. So I went after attorneys. I got to know some amazing attorneys that I worked with. I got them on TV. And when I had my next decision making moment of, do I want to stay in the sales side of media or do I want to offer more? Life made the choice for me because I would have conversations about data and about strategy just for fun with these attorneys. So it'd be like, oh yeah, your TV commercial is doing great. By the way, what are you doing with your website? And this is just me being nosy.
Right.
Did you know that people that see, because this was forever ago, okay, I'm not going to date myself, it was a long time ago. Did you know that people that see your TV commercial go to this thing called Facebook? Did you know they go to this thing called Google? And so I had those conversations with them. Again, just being a nerd, being nosy, and I've always loved data. Like I just did it effortlessly. And I provided them with value and didn't realize it. So when I decided that the TV space was not quite what I was looking for, because that's how you find things out, I didn't know what I was going to do. A lot of these attorneys called me and were like, hey, so what are you doing these days? Want to go have a drink? Want to go have dinner? Want to catch up? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And they were the ones that told me, can you please help us? Like literally every conversation that we had, we tried some of the things that you recommended. It added value to our business. We would love to have your help. And it became one, then two, then three, then four. And the next thing I knew, I had a full service agency and I was servicing the attorney market. And then during the pandemic was when I switched to what Marketing Boss is, because then I learned something else with that experience, that as an agency owner, I was always going to be limited to whatever my team could execute on. And as an agency owner, and I have a lot of respect for agencies, by the way, I have a lot of them in my network that I refer business to. I couldn't pivot as quickly as the market needed me to really offer people that comprehensive solution I was trying to offer as a full service agency. And so that's how I shifted to the CMO piece. So the common thread here is I love data. I love making decisions. I love minimizing risk. And I really just fell in love with the attorneys that I met along the way, honestly. And for me, relationships are really important with my clients. I work with clients that I believe in. I don't just drink the Kool-Aid. Like I know they're like legit. Like I've seen them behind the scenes, in their pajamas, stressing out. Like I get that they're like real people of real substance. And I'm very passionate about that. And I just really enjoy the work with the attorneys that are like that. Like I don't work with every attorney. I'm not for everyone, but that's really my space, my lane.
What is the data that you are looking at when you first walk in the door at a firm or let's say a firm that hasn't even opened? Is there a first step that you're looking at? Or is it kind of a comprehensive thing?
I love that question. And I bet I know why you're asking, because attorneys get pitched on this one magic bullet, this one thing. If you do this, everything's going to work. I'm going to tell you right now, as your brand new friend, that does not exist. Whoever's selling you anything, whether it's consulting or marketing that way, is insane. Run away. What I do is I try to understand, what are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to solve? And then, like in sports, I come up with my play of how I'm going to look, what data I'm going to look like. So I'm going to dial it in with two examples. One example, I'm running TV ads and I don't know if they're working. Okay, if you're running TV ads, I understand the customer journey is branding is going to lead to some sort of digital behavior that I can track. If you're branding with a telephone number that you can track, That's one metric that I can look at. So I'm going to look at what phone calls came in from your TV commercial. But as a data analyst, I'm also going to look at what does your TV commercial messaging say? And can I look at Google My Business, your Google Analytics, and find those same keywords as people that are searching those things, right? So maybe your tagline is, we care about you, we're the law firm that cares. And then I see in your Google Analytics that people are searching the law firm that cares and going to your Google My Business and calling. So I look at data like that. I also look at just straight call volume and I can correlate. So for example, you're running TV commercials for 3 months, then I'm going to look at your Google Analytics and your website call volume, just straight surface call volume for those 3 months, and see, was there an uptick from before? What was going on before those 3 months? What happened during those 3 months? And was there a change? Because then I can safely assume, oh, okay, some of that call volume can be attributed to that.
Right.
So I'm gonna give you it's attribution, right? So I understand attribution is not linear. I understand that I can look for behavioral indicators with the way people search, with the way people journey across your different media too. So it might be social media, could be where the data is. So that's one example. The other example is my billboard campaign working? If there's no data on call volume or anything like that, well, we can do things like surveying and understand, are people even recognizing that you have billboards? Where was the last time you saw my brand? Oh, I saw it on the billboard. So then the data is not showing that the call came from the billboard number, right? The call volume is not necessarily showing up anywhere, but the fact that there's recall lets me know there's value in that billboard branding that you're doing. So those are two examples of data. And as you can see, it's not a plug and play thing. It really depends on what is my client trying to solve, what is my client trying to achieve. You know, another one is social media. Everybody's like, oh, my social media team's not doing a good job because my followers are not up. And I'm just like, I don't care about followers. Like, followers are not views. I want eyeballs. Show me impressions. Show me that you're reaching more people. Those are metrics that I look for in social media that maybe you might not have thought about, or I know a lot of attorneys don't think about it. They think, oh, if I have 1 million followers, that must be my social media is working. And I say, no, if you have 1 million views, that's exciting. And if out of those views you have engagement, that's exciting. But you also have to understand your target audience. Another thing that I hear about social media with attorneys is, oh, my content's not working because it's not going viral. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're not an influencer. Like, that's not the goal. Like, we don't want to be famous for no reason. You know, like I made a viral video that got like millions of views and it did nothing for my business because it was a video of my kid doing something silly. Like, that's cool, right? But like, that doesn't make you money. I've made a lot more money with videos that have gotten less views, less engagements, because they are hitting the right audience at the right time in the right way. And I'm understanding how it fits into my media mix.
That's fascinating because I feel like there's this like urge with lawyers to think there's this one size fits all or this quick fix because you have so many more avenues now with technology to market. You have billboards, you have social media, you have all that. And as someone who's on TikTok, I mean, I have a good TikTok following, like 300,000, but I agree with you. Like some of that is meaningless in terms of my business. Some of it's really great. But
Yeah.
I'm one of the things that fascinates me is billboards because they've been around so long. I think that there's got to be some value to them, to your point, even if you can't directly correlate every single lead to them. It's just sort of this permanent, constant brand reminder, in my opinion. And I don't even
Yep.
have billboards, nor do I judge people that have that. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I find it so interesting that even in this time when we have social media emerging and all this new stuff, the billboards are still a staple.
They can be. And, you know, to use a favorite attorney phrase, it depends. Imagine you're driving down the highway and every other billboard is an attorney. That's a very different experience than if you're driving down the highway and you see a Burger King billboard, a Coca-Cola billboard, and maybe one lawyer. that's going to probably stick out more. So competitive landscape is a huge factor with billboards in order to get them to work. The other piece is the creative. It's not just about slapping the billboard up there. It's about thinking through what is going to really stick visually, because people are driving by.
Right.
What is going to hit an emotional chord, right? I saw a billboard campaign that has nothing to do with law, but it said implant, okay? Implants. And it had a picture of a girl who was, like a little, well endowed.
Got it.
And they kept getting calls about breast implants, but it was a dental billboard.
Oh gosh.
They got the call, but it was the so it's like, okay, let's try this one again, right? I had nothing to do with that campaign, but I'm giving you examples of we've got to think through if you're going to execute on a strategy, whether it's billboards or anything else, how is it going to look compared to everything else? What is the experience you're actually creating in the marketplace for the consumer? In terms of the creative, in terms of the positioning, in terms of competitive, in terms of messaging, are you appealing to the emotional chord? People remember movies because we get emotionally invested. We cry, we laugh, we feel the feelings. When a billboard hits an emotional chord, whether it's suspense, whether it's excitement, whether it's, drama, it's going to be remembered more. So those are other things to think about when it comes to billboard campaigns. Again, even any other marketing campaign. But yeah, billboards fascinate me. I live in Atlanta, and I've had people say, "Wow, people must get into a lot of accidents," and they're like, because every other billboard is. You'll see. I don't know if you've been to Atlanta before, but
I'll be there tomorrow for the first time, but it's in
okay,
Philly. In Philly,
yeah,
there's a stretch of 95 that's literally lawyer, 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 like one after the other.
yeah, yeah. And as somebody who travels all over the country, because I have law firms that I work with all over the country, and I travel, I try to go on site as much as possible. Every marketplace has like a whole different vibe. So like right now I'm in California, and you see like so many cheesy billboards
Yeah.
that you would just not see in Atlanta, right?
Yeah. I think
It's
there's
just a different vibe.
well, one of the things that gets me as a younger guy, I mean,
Hmm.
I'm getting older, but
Yeah.
kids will do that to you. But
Yeah.
is there's like I feel like there's a large percentage of lawyer billboards that you could throw in the same box of just sort of generic
The guy
a
with the
guy
suit.
the guy with a suit. Yes, like the guy with a suit and it's like I'm not saying that that guy never gets calls, but why not try something new? Why not in 2025? Maybe I shouldn't be saying this on out loud because then people will copy me. But like to me, it's a no-brainer. That's not
Yeah.
personable. That's not what would draw somebody in. At least not me. But I don't know if you agree or not. But
Yeah, and what I know, and I have these conversations all the time with my attorney clients. There is safety and there's risk, and you don't know which one's going to pay off. And I was talking to a law firm owner about a vendor, and when we're like analyzing if this vendor is a good fit or not, he was like, well, you know, I've seen the work that this person has done with these other attorneys. And I was like, but, and I was not defending the vendor, but I was like, but as a marketer, we are limited to whatever our end user client has the guts to execute on. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be your money, right? So if I tell you, hey, take a picture of yourself hanging upside down like this, and let's put it on a billboard and put, life upside down after an accident, and you're like, oh, heck no, I'm not doing that. That's not my fault. That could have been the best, most genius marketing idea for a billboard, but that's not on me.
right,
And so that's the other thing where I understand that a lot of attorneys, you are cautious,
stubborn.
smart, calculated. Well, I'm going to call it these other nice words. You like to take calculated risks. Um, and yeah, and I can't guarantee you as a marketer that if you do the picture that I just described of you hanging upside down with that message, that it's going to work, because marketing, a lot of it is experimentation.
Right, but
Data tells you what people like, but
that makes
yeah.
me I want your take on this. So why are lawyers so hesitant to change or to try something new or to do something outside the box, even if it means that it could succeed. Do you have thoughts on that? Do you see that where there's that pushback to trying something new, and you're coming from the world and experience of someone who's worked for NBC and all these big like why is that like a lawyer thing? Is that psychological? What is that?
So this is my personal opinion, based on working with attorneys, and also my personality is somewhat like this too. So I humbly put myself in the category of an attorney, right? I'm cautious. Um, we want to protect like whatever like trauma led us to want to have power.
Mm.
I don't know about you, but like I'm, a domestic violence survivor, childhood domestic violence survivor, and I've got like a crazy story and all that. So I see how those experiences led me to want to have a career, be hyper independent.
Mm-hmm.
All those personality traits come from trauma. And I find most of the attorneys that I work with, when we're having drinks and really talking and getting personal, like there's always something like that in the past where like once you heal that and you stop caring in a healthy way, right? Never, oh, I don't care what people think, because we do. We care about people. That's why we do what we do. When you heal that, then it gets easier to take those risks and to experiment. Like for me, having a podcast called The Care Sandwich was a big deal because I was like, Care Sandwich. I want to call it marketing moves for law firm owners, right? Like, and the podcast consultant that I was working with, they're like, no, like get out of your comfort zone. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take my own advice and I'm going to trust the experts and go with Care Sandwich. I have no idea what let's rock and roll. Let's do it. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions for my business. So I think, and again, going back to answering your question, I think that a lot of the times law firm owners that gravitate toward that career path, it's because of some sort of like thing that they went through in their life. And to the degree that they can heal that, they're able to then take more risks, because being smart and being data driven and being calculating as a personality, that's never going to go away. Like the lawyer in Atlanta that decided to put a billboard up and call it My Bald Lawyer and put a picture of himself as a bald guy, like he's still a smart guy. It was a calculated risk, but it was risky, and maybe it worked out for him, maybe it didn't. I don't know. I don't know him, but I'm giving you that as an example. That's how we get outside that space, is just getting comfortable with ourselves.
I love that
Yeah.
answer. I
Yeah.
think that's so awesome that you took your experiences as a child and were able to harness that energy from that trauma and to have the self-awareness, because I feel like, and I'm not perfect, but there's blind spots I have about that all the time. But like you, I grew up in a home that was not, necessarily stable. We'll put it that way,
Mhm.
right? It was up and down, all around, volatile. And I
Yeah.
I found now as I'm a lawyer, like I love the courtroom. I love being amidst the absolute chaos that is the courtroom, the human theater, so to speak. I
Yeah.
feel right at home there. I
Yeah.
I do well there. I connect with people. And for me, the challenge is then balancing that with every other aspect of my life, because you can't always kind of be going off that energy. But I feel like the first step is self-awareness. I don't know if you
Hmm.
agree, but having that understanding of what drives you.
Absolutely. And it trickles down into the way you lead your teams too. Like right now I've been doing a lot of work in sales and intake, but really I've been doing therapy at law firms, if you think about it, because the reason, and I wrote a book called Connect Convert, the reason why maybe sometimes staff members don't sign up cases is because they're not connecting as humans with the caller, right?
Mhm.
But then when we get to those one-on-ones, because we do one-on-ones in our program with the staff members, then we find out, oh, it's because your boss is leading in a certain way, and then, oh, it's because your boss is afraid and wants to control everything. Like they're not a bad person, they just don't know how to manage these tendencies that work well in the courtroom, right? When you go into a courtroom and you command the room and you control and you question and you pressure and you're aggressive, that works great. But how do you shut it off at the office
Right.
with Sue in intake, who's like already stressed out, and now she's like, oh man, I better hurry up and sign some cases, and then the opposite happens.
That, exactly. Yeah. I feel like we don't know our own weaknesses as lawyers.
Yeah,
We love to talk about what we're good at, but
yeah.
not the other stuff.
But that's a human though. Like, I mean, every human is that way. Like, you and I happen to be in the legal space and this is our world, but I've done work with dentist offices, spas, because as a marketer, like people are like, "Oh, can you help me too?" And I'm like, "Sure." And it's all the same. It's really A-type leaders who start businesses, who grow businesses. Those are all common patterns, you know? So, yeah.
Well, can you tell us a story about some lawyer or law firm? You don't need to name them, but somewhere you came in and you saw a drastic change or a real significant shakeup where you could really measure those results.
Sure. So results as in growth or peace of mind.
Whatever
Yeah,
comes to your mind in terms of what was significant to them or to you.
sure. So I can think of two. I can think of one law firm where we came in and there were a lot of infrastructure issues. So it wasn't just the marketing was the symptom. And then when we started running better ads and doing better marketing, we realized that there was a bottleneck in the sales and intake. And then it took us all the way to like the journey with the law firm owner and things that were happening there and mindset. And so the impact of that work wasn't necessarily that, oh, the firm blew up and now it's a multi-million-dollar firm, but things got a lot more aligned, more predictable. And so that was a success, story for us because, I do this because I love people. So another one that I can think of where you can see the results more externally, we had a law firm owner that didn't that hired an agency, and the agency, I don't know what happened, but somehow his website was gone. He had nothing, like no website, no email marketing, like
That's not
nothing.
good.
It was a slingshot moment, right? Because like, okay, what's the opportunity here? Like, let's cry over the spilt milk for 5 minutes. All right, what's the opportunity here? And he's like, you know what? I've always wanted to just have an in-house team. He's like, maybe this is my sign. And I'm like, let's do it. Here's the game plan. We're going to hire an external agency for right now as a band-aid to get this website up. And we're going to hire them to do graphic design, social media, and a couple of other things. While we do that, we're going to look for and vet a marketing director. And we're going to make sure that we have all of the SOPs, meaning standard operating procedures for your marketing that work for you and for your business, documented by the time that we hire this person. We bring the person in, we build funnels, the website's now running, the social media is now running. We ended up hiring this marketing director and a VA and then optimize everything so well that he was able to let go of the marketing director left anyway. And now he's just got a VA and one external agency running ads, and he's got a marketing machine.
Wow.
And through remarketing as a strategy, because this is a smaller firm, they experienced a 10% growth, then 20, then 35. And the biggest moneymaker, believe it or not, was email marketing. They had
Really?
a massive database of clients that they had amassed over a decade that they were doing nothing with. We cleaned it up and we were doing social media ads, the website, all the things, all the top of the funnel things. But what we were noticing is whenever we would send out those campaigns, we would get the referrals, we would get like, it would push to other things
That's
because we
smart.
did it
Yeah.
the smart way. We connected everything. So that's a case study where externally, like there was that growth that you can measure.
Yeah, and I feel like
Um,
nobody would, not nobody, but I feel like a lot of people wouldn't even think about those emails as an opportunity.
Right. And a lot of law firms miss opportunities like that because, and it's not your fault. You get sold on do this tactic, do this thing. You're bombarded with that. So then I call it marketing PTSD. Then you end up with marketing PTSD, and then you end up asking to be punished even more. Then you go to the social media vendor and you say, so how many social media posts are you going to give me in your package? When you shouldn't be buying that way.
Right.
You should be going to the social media vendor and saying, hey, my goal is to grow my social media visibility by 10%. How will you achieve that? That should be the conversation. But a CMO thinks that way. A law firm owner might not think that way because you get sold on buy this package, buy this service, 5 videos, 6 videos, 7 videos. And I get it. That's how agencies sell. And I don't necessarily think there's a problem with that because that's how they make money. But somebody has to be asking those other questions as well to address those questions as well. Like, what does success look like? How do we measure it in a very real way, whether it's intangible, like visibility, right? Or tangible, like more tangible, like signed cases. Like, how do you even track that?
Well, I meant to ask you this minutes ago
Yeah.
because it's kind of a big deal. You're a book author, but I
Mhm.
wanted to just ask you, can you tell us about your book? What?
Sure. So I wrote a book called Connect Convert, and it's a good complement to a methodology that I developed called Connect Convert, where after over a decade of working with attorneys, I found a pattern of KPIs that I know are going to help me predict whether somebody's likely to sign up a case or not. Things like using the person's name in the conversation, things like the tone at the beginning of a call. So I have 8 KPIs that I measure in my methodology, and I wrote about it in Connect Convert because I want to share it with as many people as possible. And it fits really nicely with our program. The book walks you through our methodology, which fits with our program. And in our program, your team takes an on-demand course. My team audits them and then provides them with one-on-one support to help them with the KPIs that they're struggling with the most. And then what we do is we actually provide you and your law firm with like an entire SOP for your sales and intake that includes our KPIs, but also things that are specific to your law firm. Like, it blows my mind how many law firms don't have documentation that tells their team how to qualify a case. And so we have that. So when you get a copy of the book, the first section is about the methodology. The last section is about how to qualify the most common types of cases. We create customized decks for the law firms based on what their criteria is, because every law firm is a little bit different. But the book is a really good start. Like, if you are a law firm owner and you don't have any sort of documentation for your team so that they understand how to connect with a person, how to qualify whatever, PI, workers' comp, the most common case, this is a good start because it's all in here. But definitely our program, is designed to give really the more comprehensive support.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Margarita, thank you so much for making the time. I know you're I think in LA or near there.
Yeah,
You're on the road, but I appreciate it so much. And thanks for coming on.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And I told you I was chatty, so I hope this was fun for you.
It was great. It was perfect. Thank you.
Awesome.
And that's a wrap for this episode of City of Brotherly Law. I'm Tom Bosworth, reminding you that in Philly, we don't just practice law, we live it, we breathe it, we fight for it every day. This city was built on grit and determination. That's exactly how we approach justice. That's how we approach cases. Join us next time for more straight talk and legal insights from the heart of Philadelphia. Until then, stay tough and keep it real, Philly.